Once again, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Gio and Joey podcast. We are on all your podcast players and here on YouTube if you're watching us. Joey, tell us what we're going to be watching here. By the way, how are you doing, Joey?
Doing good. So this was a video I saw a while back of Andrew Klavan, and I thought it would make some good content for discussion on some of the issues that we like dealing with on this podcast. He's an interesting thinker. He's kind of different than some of the people on the right. And so I like his perspectives, and I think it can add to our project here for Protestant political theology.
Okay, brother. You want to dive right in?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
We're always hearing this country as an idea, and that is right. And the idea centers on one thing, which is liberty, individual liberty, the freedom to do, say, think, worship how you please, okay? When the founders said all men are created equal, they meant equal in their right to liberty. They obviously didn't mean that I'm as good a basketball player as LeBron James. They obviously didn't mean that, a smart guy is not smarter than a dumb guy. They didn't mean we're equal. They meant that we're equal in the fact that we all have the right to liberty. And they said that. We have unalienable rights. Life was first because obviously that's the basis of everything else, but then comes liberty. When they said that governments are formed among men to ensure those rights, they were talking mostly about liberty. Again, the opposite of liberty is woke. The opposite of liberty is wokeness. Takes away your individuality, replaces equality of the right to freedom with equity of results. It utterly, obviously, destroys your free speech. I will talk about that more as we go on. So fighting wokeness is the most important, is the country. The country is on the line.
Let me pause it there for a second. What do you think of his opening remarks?
Right now, obviously, there's the whole debate about, Christian nationalism on the right. But I like what he said, how he opened it. America is about this idea that all men are created equal in their right to liberty. And that includes the right to speak your mind, the right to worship, or conversely, not to worship. I agree with him that wokeness is one of the chief threats to the West right now. But I think part of that threat is the threat of an overreaction in the other way. So we can say, so the left says we should trans the kids. Really what we should do is we should just oppress everyone who has any kind of sexual thing that we don't deviancy. They're an adult and they're not harming anyone. So we can jump to these extremes and say, but I like what he says. People in this country, we do have a right to live within reason as we please. We have the freedom to do that. And the left, as much as we may not like what they're doing, they have the right to live their lives as well and to not worship or to worship in the way that they see fit.
That's what we're all about on this podcast. We're trying to find that happy tension because it's never going to be tension free. But if we have a balance within our individual rights and our collective responsibilities to society, I think we can get along and move along. But right now, as Andrew Klavan is going to show us throughout this video, is that right now, the left side, the side that is against traditional value, seems to have all the power. Let's continue with the video.
And in the American mind this week, two scholars, John Fonte of the Hudson Institute, he's a guy I know, he's an absolutely brilliant guy, and Thomas Klingenstein of Claremont, who may be the only conservative in America I haven't met, I don't think. They wrote a manifesto for this anti-woke caucus. It's in the American mind. It's called Woke Revolutionaries versus Americanists, because obviously woke and America are the opposite. And this is what they say. They say National Socialism, Nazism, and communism were the challenges for prior generations of Americans. Wokeism is the challenge of our generation. America is in the middle of a cold civil war between woke revolutionaries who believe America is and has always been systemically racist, evil, so that it must be deconstructed, delegitimized, i.e. destroyed, and those who believe that America is good and that its principles are the greatest antidote to racism ever created, and that preserving America and its principles is the highest and most urgent political calling. Now, they are absolutely right about this, and they give the caucus some very good advice, but they're wrong about one thing. They're wrong about one thing. The woke people are not the revolutionaries. We are. They already own the culture. They own every part of the culture. They own the businesses. They own the movies. They own the academies. They own showbiz. They own just about everything. They are just solidifying their victory. Now that they've won the victory, they're now bringing in the big guns, the real things. They're like the Nazis take over France, and then they start rounding up the Jews. They're rounding up the Jews, basically, and the Jews are you and me. Anybody who disagrees with them, they're big business, they're the government, they're their academy. We are the revolutionaries, and we have to learn to fight like revolutionaries fight. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Disney, I mean, just an example. Disney, once the fullest expression of American values and innovation, it is now a body-snatched zombie of wokeness. They have taken it over. They reissued their old Proud Family show, I think from the 90s. Here's a snippet of what was in it, cut 3.
This country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. Tilled this land from sea to sea to sea. First there was rice, tobacco, sugar cane. Then we needed this king and kept the king. And we were its soldiers, 4 million strong, fighting for America's freedoms, even though we remained America's land. This country, the descendants of slaves continue to build this. Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering and continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, white supremacy.
Now, it's an incredible, everything in that is a lie. I mean, slaves worked in this country. They worked in a lot of countries, but they didn't build this country. This country was built in very different ways. But still, it's hateful. It's anti-American hate being fed to your children by a corporation that was made in America, by America, for America, by a deeply American guy, Walt Disney. So they have won. They have already won. And the Disney CEO, Bob Iger, just announced that he's cutting 7,000 jobs and $5.5 billion in costs. They had a bad 22. But if you think that, go woke, go broke is going to save you, if you think capitalism is going to save you and the market will stop these guys, you're wrong. You are wrong. First of all, their quarterly earnings and their streamer losses were not as bad as they thought they were going to be. And you're still going to watch Star Wars. You're still going to watch stuff that even though Luke Skywalker is going to be retconned as gay, you're still going to, go back and watch those films because you love them. That you'll be sending them their money to give that crap to your children because money, and they don't care because money is secondary. This ideology is a virus, and people who have it have so much cultural power that people are simply falling over to support them and back them up. This is what happened in the Soviet Union, what happened in China.
That was a mouthful. What'd you think of what he said there?
What I find interesting about that, and I think is a good point, is sometimes we're so used to, we talk about the counter-revolution of the 60s. We talk about the liberal hippies and they were the ones breaking taboos. And so we associate the left with that kind of thing and say we conservatives, we're the ones defending tradition, defending the good parts of the system. Yeah, it doesn't mean we don't want to change ever. Things need to be changed sometimes. But we want to change in a way that's in accordance with the best of our traditions. And we kind of think of it that way. But really, those 1960s counter-revolutionaries, they won. I mean, they got Hollywood. They got many of our executive governing institutions. In other words, we're not fighting. Yes, we still want to maintain our constitutional system. There's things we want to maintain. But in a very real sense, we're working to kind of bring some semblance of sanity back to some of these institutions. And that's a different thing than just preserving the institution.
As I was listening to him, the way he's using wokeism is just another name for what's been tried before in other countries, which is communism and socialism. And we see that doesn't work. It's never worked in history. Just look at what has happened to Venezuela and to Brazil. It never works. But you could see that they are so convinced their ideology is right that they play the long game. They've been at this for a long, long time trying to win the culture war, and they've won it. And so I see his point that we're the ones now, the few remaining who dare to speak up, have to speak up and have to realize that if we don't speak up, we're going to get run over. But I want to pose a question to you. Based on our faith tradition, we know that eventually this is going to swing back the other way. Any thoughts to that before we continue with the video?
When fighting for sanity, and he's going to go on later in the video to make the point is that conservatives aren't the majority, but he believes sane people are the majority. And I like to believe that, but that's why I like how he opened this, right? And he's saying, what is our ideal? Our ideal isn't, we don't want to oppress the left. We don't want vengeance against the left. We want to restore sanity. We want to restore decency and a sense of normalcy. But there's a danger there when it becomes vindictive, when it becomes, we're not just protecting our kids, but also we're going to get you. And so I think, yes, we should know what truth is, and we should advocate for the truth and for the good, but we need to be cautious of overcorrection.
As I think about what's going to happen in the future, the overcorrection, I have to, in my own heart, have to realize I can't judge them by the overcorrection that has yet to happen. And so I have to team up with those fighting for traditional values and try to be part of what saves this country. Because right now, the trajectory of the country, as we have discussed in other episodes, one specifically on sex and culture that you can find on our YouTube channel, we'll link it at the end screen. We're headed towards the predicaments that J.D. Unwin spoke about. Let's continue with the video.
I had one more thought on these.
Go ahead.
So obviously, I believe Jesus is coming soon. I believe we're living in the end times. I think sometimes as Christians, we can take that to mean we should put our hands up, and that's not, we're just saying the opposite. Sometimes some conservative Christians can make is, we know everything's going to fall apart, so might as well let it happen. An accelerationist approach. A writer I really like, she says that we shouldn't do that. We should work to preserve liberty and liberty of conscience for as long as we can, right? And so my thing is, like, yes, I know ultimately, right, things are going to get really bad right before Jesus comes. I know that, and I believe that that's soon. But in my life, right, and in the political things I support, and the cultural endeavors I support, I'm still going to work for the good, right? I'm not going to throw up my hands and say, well, it's just going to all go to hell in a handbasket. It may all go to hell in a handbasket, but I'm not going to toss the basket on the fire, right? It's not going to be my hand that does it. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it reminds me of the movie Hacksaw Ridge, where he kept going back for one more, just save one more. And I like how C.S. Lewis also puts it, the people who do more earthly good are those who are heavenly minded. We know how this is going to end. We know things are going to get worse, but I want to try to save as many people. And I just don't mean that in the theological sense, even in the cultural sense, save as many people as possible, because traditional values as our foundation leads to the healthiest, happiest people. When we deviate, and this is why in an article you shared with me, or I think you and I spoke about offline, is the young people are suffering from depression and mental illness at a higher rate than ever before. Well, when reality that they see doesn't match with the reality they're being taught, there's that cognitive dissonance. And if we would all go back to traditional values, there'd be better mental health. Let's continue with this video.
So we're always hearing this country as an idea, and that is secondary. This ideology is a virus, and the people who have it have so much cultural power that people are simply falling over to support them and back them up. This is what happened in the Soviet Union, what happened in China. People will follow the crowd around them. They will follow the crowd around them, even if they don't want to. They find themselves saying things come out. I mean, you ever tell somebody you liked a movie because they liked it, but you didn't really like it, but you don't want to say it? And that's the way this works. There's a glitch in the human system. Now, at the same time, there's a full court press going on to stop or damage the release of the new Harry Potter video game, because J.K. Rowling won't bend the knee, and she won't say that men can be women. She's not anti-trans. She's not transphobic, a state of mind that does not exist, a word that has no relation to anything in the truth. She just says the truth, that men can't become women. We don't have the technology. It can't be done. It's like saying, if you're a man saying you're a woman, it's like saying you're standing on Pluto. We can't get you there. Too bad. That's it. That's reality. The game is going to come out. It's going to be hugely popular. I'm going to play it next week. I'll do a Klavan Plays video, and we'll release that on YouTube. And people are saying, oh, they can't stop Rowling because she's a billionaire and they say her books make too much money and all this stuff. Doesn't matter, because the next person, the person just starting, the new author of a new Harry Potter, can't get going. Even I've taken flack for this, by the way. I won't bend the knee either. But again, if I were just starting out, would I? Probably not, because I'm me, but somebody else will. Remember Chick-fil-A? The president of Chick-fil-A said he opposed gay marriage and gave money to Christian charities and everybody. And then when they attacked him, he stood up to them, and Chick-fil-A became the most popular fast food restaurant in the country because people were supporting him. Doesn't matter. Chick-fil-A has stopped funding those charities and announced that they stopped funding those charities because every time they went to open a restaurant, the activists were there shutting them down. What do you think they're thinking in Colorado when they go after this baker every time, when they destroy his life? He's a strong Christian man. He's standing up to them in faith. But what do you think about the next baker who just thinks, I just want to sell my cakes. If somebody wants a gay wedding cake, so it's against my principles, I don't care. Capitalism will not protect you. The Constitution will not protect you. The country loses the values that make them work. They're just papers. Money is just paper. Everything is just paper except those values in your heart. That's what matters. If God's values aren't written on your heart, they ain't in operation.
That's just such a great point. We can talk about the values all you want, but like, if they're not in your heart, right? Like when the pressure comes, right? When, the example brought up of Jack Phillips, the bakery owner from Colorado, right? If you don't actually have your Christian values on your heart, right? You're not doing it because you love and want to serve God. When the pressure comes, you're not going to stand up for it. And I like the point he's bringing it back to is the cultural power that the left has, right? And like they go after Christian circles. There's, with Harry Potter, right? I'm not the biggest fan of those novels, but what I do admire, I admire her courage, right? The fact is, she's gotten tons of hate from people who otherwise would be adoring her. And yet she's taken the hate because she's like, I'm going to stand up for women's spaces and women's rights. I like the point, right? She's a billionaire, right? I don't know if she's a billionaire, but she's at least a millionaire. She's very wealthy. She'll be okay. But what happens to the next young creative person who maybe has a traditional view on something, but they want to get published? So they know the pressure is going to come. And so obviously we should say, have courage, but there's a reason why these circles, they just end up being self-repeating, right? Because it's like the left comes, they go after these big people, the big people survive, but the little guy's like, hey, I know if I don't go along, then I'm going to be screwed.
People are pressured into get along to get along. And we know from the Bible that there's going to come a time where there's going to be economic pressure, where you won't be able to buy or sell. And in many ways, we see little foreshadowing of what is going to come. But that's why it's so important to be grounded in the truth. When truth becomes more valuable to you than anything else, and in our case, Gio and Joey, we believe in God, and God has told us that we're going to be hated for our traditional values, hated for the teachings we share that are from Scripture. And when we know these things, when He has told us in advance of these things, truth then becomes more precious than anything else, and we will trust God that He will provide our necessities. But too many people aren't anchored in truth. Whatever truth it is, they are tossed to and fro. They change their minds with any popular celebrity or popular politician. And that's why it's important that you understand truth for yourself and understand what is reality.
So they are the government. They are this power. We are the revolutionaries, and they have a strategy for making it seem like they aren't. That's how they fool you. They make it seem that they're the revolutionaries. They're the upstarts. They're the ones. There was a House Oversight Committee about how Twitter, at the instigation of the FBI, blocked the Hunter Biden laptop to help Biden win the election over Trump. I've told you that this Twitter story is the biggest story of the decade, is one of the biggest stories of the decade. It's so important because it is about big government and big industry colluding to strip you of your right to free speech and to rig an election. That's what the story is. That's what's happening. So AOC just hates that she's there and she's in this thing. And she's got woke warrior Yoel Roth, who used to be on Twitter, used to be their head of censorship before Musk came in. And she's talking about libs of TikTok. Now, remember, libs of TikTok, who we love on the show, we play her stuff all the time. All she does is show the left talking. She doesn't have any content except their content. She shows you what they are saying, and she kept getting kicked off Twitter for that. Now she's not. So here is AOC talking to Yoel Roth about what she saw on libs of TikTok.
Are you aware from August 11th to August 16th, that account posted false information about Boston Children's Hospital, claiming that they were providing hysterectomies to children?
Yes, I am aware of that and other claims from the account.
And are you aware that this lie was then circulated by other prominent far-right influencers?
Yes.
And are you aware that all these claims, which I have reiterated, were false, culminated in a real-life harassment and ultimately a bomb threat to the Boston Children's Hospital.
Yes, I am aware.
And this account is still on that platform today, isn't it?
Regrettably, yes, it is.
Now remember, Libs of TikTok doesn't put out content.
Yeah, let me start here because this is what I hate. Because they lie through their teeth, and because they have the media, because they have the radio waves, because they have the publications, nobody holds them accountable to it. I like how Andrew Klavan's going to make the argument when we start the video again. He said Libs of TikTok, they don't make any commentary of the videos. All they're doing is taking videos that the left puts out and retweets them. It's so frustrating. But before I let you jump in on that, I like how he said capitalism is not going to save us. It's true because these people don't care about the money. All they care is about their ideology. And this is where I want to bring in spiritualness. The devil doesn't care how he gets you. He doesn't care about money. He just wants to destroy. What he's trafficking is not money. What he's trafficking is souls. That's what he's after. And so whether he uses money, capitalism, socialism, communism, whatever, he wants to destroy people and nations and society and bring anarchy. So that's what they're after. Forget the money. The other thing is the Hunter Biden story. I remember that story around election time, and I remember the New York Post, who broke it, getting banned from Twitter. And as you and I say in private conversations, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? About 6 months, because eventually it all becomes true.
So the first thing I was going to say is I remember distinctly, I don't want to be mean, but like the eyes of the person saying it, like while they were saying it, they had like the eyes wide. But there was a video put out by Boston Children's Hospital. I didn't know what a hysterectomy was. I learned what a hysterectomy was by watching this video where they talked about gender-affirming hysterectomies. And on their website, it says, we provide trans-affirming medical care to children, right? So what they're going to claim is, oh, what we mean by that is hormones, right? Which is bad enough, and not surgery. But we know that's not true, right? We know that they perform double mastectomies. And we know that at least in some cases, they perform these hysterectomies, right? They've admitted it. And yet AOC is like, and I want to reiterate that I have said that these are false. These are false. Like, no, they've said it. But also on your point about capitalism. So I'm reminded of the fact that Karl Marx is the guy who coined the term capitalism. And like, so I think sometimes we make a mistake when we let our enemies or we let our opponents.
Yes.
So it's like, I believe very strongly in markets, right? In free market, right? Because I believe in the dignity of the human person and I believe you have the right to your property. But I don't necessarily, like, I'm not here to cheer on, right, multinational corporations that are, the line between public and private is murky.
Blurred. Yeah.
I mean, think of Google, right? They've accepted, I mean, in their creation and then throughout the years, right? First of all, they were created because of a government grant, right? They've gotten tons of exceptions. We created new categories of law. So in other words, like, I don't think like my free market principles means I have to like shill for Google and Amazon, right? So it's like, yes, I do believe in markets. I am a free market person, but it's like, yeah, capitalism, it's not going to save us, right? Ultimately.
Yeah. And I have friends that can vouch for me. I would have let all these car dealerships, car manufacturers fail back in 2008, but we bailed them out to the tune of billions and close to trillions of dollars. And so I am libertarian in that sense, free market. Yes, there should be some safety nets, but scripture says if you don't work, you don't eat. There are exceptions, obviously, but that's basically one of the principles of free market. And also, scriptures never call on the government to take care of the people. The people should take care of the people. But that's a tangent here. AOC and politicians, just don't want to pick on her. Both sides, really. They do it. They lie. They lie for talking points. And what bothers me is that none of these people are held accountable. Somebody should have called her out right there in Congress. But sometimes people don't even know within their own political realm what's truth or not.
So I went on the Boston Children's Hospital website. Here is what they say. As the first pediatric center in the country dedicated to the surgical care of transgender patients, we take an interdisciplinary approach. Our skilled team includes specialists in plastic surgery, urology, endocrinology, nursing, gender management, and social work who collaborate to provide a full suite of surgical options for transgender teens and young adults. That's what it says on their website, AOC. Now, maybe they don't do hysterectomy specifically. I don't know. It didn't say, but it's a lie. And this is the thing. I'm talking about the strategy that the woke people have for convincing us that they're the revolutionaries instead of us, they're the power. They're the power. Twitter is a powerful place. The FBI is a powerful stuff. They colluded to bury Hunter Biden's laptop so that it would help Biden win the election. AOC is telling us this lie, and they all do it, right? This is what they do. They lie and they lie. They're not teaching CRT, but it's good that they are. They're not sexually grooming our children, but it's good that they are. Do you remember the movie The Usual Suspects, where they're talking about Kaiser Soze, the master villain, and nobody knows who he is, and the guy says, channeling Baudelaire, the poet Baudelaire, this is what he says, cut 5.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Right. That's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled.
Good point.
Let me talk straight to the camera. That's exactly what's happening. Nobody believes in the devil anymore. The majority of the country, upwards of 90% of the people, are spiritual. They believe in spiritual things, but nobody seems to believe in the devil anymore. And he's after people, and he hates traditional values, nuclear family. He hates that, and people are falling for it.
The gaslighting, the point he made about the gaslighting, it's like, we're not doing a thing, the thing doesn't exist, it's not happening, and also it's really good that it is. They're doing something, and in one circumstance, they're doing it and they're proud about it, but as soon as a conservative or a right-wing person comments on it, they're like, well, why are you noticing? Ben Shapiro tells this anecdote all the time. It's like about the face tattoo syndrome, where you go to Starbucks and your barista's got a face tattoo, and you're kind of like staring at it, looking at it. And they're like, what are you looking at? And they're like, the face tattoo. That's what I'm looking at. Like, you just did this thing. And so it's like, it's the same thing with all this drag shows for kids and stuff. They're like, why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? Well, you care, right? You're doing it. You inserted this thing that wasn't a part of our society. You didn't explain the reason why. And we're commenting about it. If you were to comment about the same thing in a celebratory manner, oh, that's fine. But the minute that you have any kind of criticism of it, they're like, well, why do you even notice? Why do you even notice? Why do you care?
You can't run around naked in the mall and then wonder why people are staring. And it's the same thing, the example Ben uses. And they do it all the time. And I like that you use the word gaslighting, because it is a term and people can be gaslit. And that's why, unless you have foundational truth, unless you have a fulcrum, unless you have a true north, unless you are grounded in truth, you're going to be gaslit, and you're going to wonder whether you're the normal one. You're normal. If you believe in traditional values, you're normal. And look, we don't have to agree in every nuance, but the left has gone so far off the end. Like a teacher used to say, people are become so open-minded, their brains are going to fall off. And we can't let that happen. Anything else before we go to the final clips?
Well, I completely agree with you. A slight correction on in 2023 in America, I think you basically can run around a mall naked.
I'm pretty sure perhaps in San Francisco, where you can defecate in the streets and you can have sex in the streets, just Google the videos, people, or YouTube the videos. We're not going to show them here.
Want to save your eyes, don't.
Yeah, that's true.
That the woke people are pulling. It's not happening. It is not happening. And if you say it's happening, you're a bigot because it's happening and it's good. That is what they keep doing. They don't exist. It is exactly what the devil does. And that is no coincidence. You know, a lot of people on the right got upset about the Grammys and this song by Sam Smith and Tim Petrus, a gay guy and a make-believe girl guy. And they did the song called Unholy, which is a celebration of adultery. So they give a standing ovation sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah, that made me laugh. The devil is sponsored by Pfizer, killing people left and right. We should do, and we will do, put it that way, an episode on the Gio and Joey podcast where we look at music lyrics and show you how they are purposely leading people away from God. This song is about adultery and celebrating adultery, but I don't want to say this is new. There was a song in the 80s called Secret Lovers about two people who were madly in love, but they were both married. What are we promoting here? And people can say, hey, look, adultery happens, but they're glorifying it. And if you think of adultery, it ruins individuals, it ruins marriages, it has a devastating effect on children, which is what we care about. Obviously, individuals can make their own choices, but nevertheless, anybody who's in a marriage that somebody commits adultery, it's devastating. Nobody goes into a marriage thinking, I'm going to commit adultery and we're all going to be happy about it. No. And yet this is what is promoting. And I have a quote I want to share at this point. Look at this quote. It says, musical innovation is full of danger to the state, for when the modes of music change, the fundamental laws of the state always change with them. Plato. In essence, what he's saying, look, as the music gets more risque, gets rowdier, gets crazier, its morality in the music declines, so does the nation. And we're seeing how since the 60s and rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and now the music reflects the degeneracy of the culture.
One thing that I had on the Sam Smith thing specifically, I know we talked about that already, but something I was watching Daily Wire Backstage, if everybody wants to check it out, but I was watching Daily Wire Backstage, an appointment Michael Knowles made, where he was talking about an older song. So this song, musically, like, it wasn't really that appealing, like even like talent-wise. But a point Michael made is like, Sam Smith actually does have talent. He's actually a really good singer. And several years ago, he actually came out with a song that was basically this song. It was about adultery, about a guy who cheats on his wife. And the music video and song were basically saying how like he crushed this woman and was basically portraying it as this terrible thing. And now you fast forward to this song that was done at the Grammys. Same story, same setting, same husband cheating on his wife. And yet now it's like, oh, daddy's going down to the body shop and they're glorifying it. Right. So it's like at a point that they made on the backstage is like a lot of times these deals with the devil, like people talk about deals with the devil. It's not worth it all ultimately in terms of your eternal soul and your salvation. Right. That's the most thing. But like oftentimes it's not even worth it in material benefit, right? Like that song, like, yeah, it transgressed the boundaries or whatever, but like musically, I mean, it was just kind of like, it wasn't great. You know what I mean? So it's like, so he sold his soul, he's doing this to the devil, and yet he's actually making worse music.
Well, the devil doesn't care about money and awards as long as he can influence people. If you notice, and by the way, in the Gio and Joey show, we did a podcast, an episode on Aleister Crowley and how he influences musicians. And by the way, speaking of that, the Rihanna halftime Super Bowl show, it wasn't shown on TV, but at the end of her performance, there is video circulating on YouTube where she makes the triangle sign, which is clearly an allusion to the Crowley philosophy. So check that out. We'll put it at the end so you can look at that episode. But regardless, if you look at the trends of all these people who sell themselves to that philosophy, that Crowley philosophy, their music starts off mild and family oriented in a sense, and they look clean cut. And that's how they get you in. And then they try to drag you down a dark path. And we can't let them play the same trick on us. Madonna did it. Jay-Z, Beyonce, all of them. That little Disney girl, Hannah Montana, or whatever her name is. She started as a cute Disney girl. Britney Spears, Aguilera. They all start wholesome, and then they get into deviancy.
When you're saying that, like Little Nas X, the guy who he started out aiming his music at kids, and like parents kind of like, now, I think when you actually look at some of the lyrics, some of the songs, they weren't really great for kids either, but like that was very much what they're for, right? He went to schools performing his song, Old Town Road or Old Town Road. right? He went to schools and performed in elementary schools. And then he released that, video where he like does a lap dance on Satan and stuff in the garden in the hell, right? And he does that on the same channel, right? He had purposely cultivated a following of kids, and then he releases this. And then what he says, his response is like, listen, I'm just an artist, right? And I have the freedom to choose between, what audience I want. It's like, yeah, but you purposely cultivated this audience. And then you did this. I remember we were watching Little Nas X videos, but we had some kids' YouTube, like innocent songs on in the background. And then for my nephew's birthday party. And then all of a sudden, one of the Up Next songs, I was like, I come, the first image is this guy. And like, I had to quick shut it off. But because it was cultivated for kids, it's in the algorithm of kids' music.
They're calculated. They do it on purpose. They're after our kids. That's why homeschool your kids, teach them traditional values, and be faithful to God. Ask for wisdom, ask for truth, ask for a discerning mind, because they're after our kids. And if you get the kids, you get society, because they grow up to be adults. Let's continue here.
So they give a standing ovation sponsored by Pfizer. I may be many things, but I'm not shocked by this. Remember, in the 1980s, Iron Maiden did this stuff. They had the Number of the Beast, and all those metal bands had it. But then it was transgressive. Then they were the revolutionaries. Then they were shocking people, and people were shocked. Not now. Jill Biden gave a speech at the Grammys. People cheered. They said, they sent out a tweet, we're all worshiping now. They are not the counterculture. We are. They are the culture. The Satanism is the culture. Worshiping Satan is not shocking to anybody. If it were, Jill Biden would not have been at that show. The point about this is important. It's important to the mentality of how you fight back. This is not a siege where we are protecting the glory of America. This is a conquest. We have to take it back. We have to go in and take it back. They've got the citadel, not us. We can't huddle and play defense and complain. We have to attack and replace. Let's talk about this music for a minute. Let's talk about how we got here with this music. Satanism was inherent in rock from the very beginning, from the Beatles singing, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not saying they were Satanists. I'm not saying they were bad people or anything like that. It's interesting. When you go back to the beginning of rock and roll, it was shocking to everybody because the music was so different, but it was really inherently decent. It was love stories. It was nice. Even if you take the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, the Sympathy for the Devil, right? Sympathy for the Devil was based on a Christian novel written by a Soviet dissident called The Master and Margarita. And he says in the song, he talks about how he was there, the devil was there when Jesus Christ died. And he says, I stuck around St. Petersburg when I saw it was time for a change. I killed the Tsar and his ministers. Anastasia screamed in vain. So he was the Soviets. And then he goes on to say he was the Nazis as well. And he says, I hope you guess my name, but what's puzzling you is the nature of my game, right? And that's the thing. So the old rock had a certain decency, a certain actual Christian foundation. It was just a different kind of music. Roll over Beethoven, it was a different kind of music. But in that music, inherently, it was going in this direction. I'll tell you why, all right? There was a famous book written in 1987 by a guy named Alan Bloom called The Closing of the American Mind, about the left's takeover of the universities. And in it was an attack on rock music to this very day is ridiculed by the right. The left just dismisses it, but it's ridiculed by the right as ruining the whole argument because it made conservatives look like old grumpy grandpas who didn't like rock and roll. Those kids today are listening to the wrong music. Here's what Alan Bloom said. Young people know that rock has the beat of sexual intercourse in alliance with some real art and a lot of pseudo art. So he's saying it is art. And some of it's not, but it says an enormous industry cultivates the taste for the orgiastic state of feeling connected with sex, providing a constant flood of fresh material for voracious appetites. Never was there an art form directed so exclusively to children. So he was absolutely right about this. Why did it make him sound like an old grump to say it? And I will tell you why. Because art always reflects, popular art always reflects something that has already happened or is happening in the heart of the people. I think that modern abstract art is trash. I think Jackson Pollock is absolute garbage, but it is an absolute expression of what reality looks like when there's no God. You lose the sense of that things have shape, that things matter, that things have meaning. It just becomes splat on a page. So it is art. It's just bad art because the culture is bad. So when you say that something that is truly art, and rock and roll is truly art, and rap truly art, when you say that something is art, is bad, you are saying that the culture is bad and nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear that their cultural moment is low and degraded and it sucks because they're part of it and they like that music. So that's how you get to be called, what did Vanity Fair call me? An old crank. That's how you get to be an actual old crank, because art is prophecy. The counterculture becomes the culture, and if it represents the tenor of the times, and that has real life consequences, but people like it even as it's cutting out the ground from underneath them.
Look, I'm going to have to disagree with Andrew here in a couple of things. Rock and roll has no redeeming qualities because it all depends. I'm not one who necessarily separates secular music from Christian music because it all depends on the lyrics and the beat to a certain extent. But it's what is it teaching? And rock and roll from the get-go has always taught to be anti-law, to be freedom of sexuality, things that go against tenets you and I believe in. I'm not saying that every secular song is bad, but you have to listen to it for what it's teaching. And songs like I mentioned, Secret Lover, which is glorifying adultery, no bueno. This song like Unholy, I haven't heard that one, but if it's glorifying adultery, once again, no bueno. Your thoughts?
I think in as much as maybe where I sort of agree is that what we see today is much more explicit, right? But the point that he was making from Bloom's book is that the seeds to this explicit stuff were sown back then.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
Right. You can find songs where it's, some wholesome lyric, right? So in other words, like, it's kind of like exposure, right? So in other words, if this song Unholy had come on any radio station in 1950, right, I'm pretty sure a couple of towns would have gone up, and so that couldn't happen. Elvis Presley could jiggle and whatever. It was taboo, but it wasn't the full extension of where this was going. And as much as that was his point, I think I agree. As far as the specifics about different songs, I didn't actually know that fact about Sympathy for the Devil, about the Christian Bible. I didn't even know that.
As I was listening to that, I didn't know that either, but that's just exactly the point, though. It leads a seed. What's the title of the song? Sympathy for the Devil. And that's what you remember, and that's what plays in your head like an earworm. And as far as the Beatles, they were into the occult and Satanism. How do I know that? Just watch our video on Aleister Crowley. They had them on their album cover. Why would you have a Satanist on your album cover? Sgt. Pepper, Little Heart Band, or whatever it was called. Just check out the video. So all these things, we have to be discerning. That's all I ask. Just be discerning. But the thing is, people turn off their brains and listen to this. Look, when I used to listen to this kind of music, I used to be a big DMX fan. But then I go back and realize, man, he was talking about raping 15-year-olds for kicks and giggles. Who would ever promote that? And yet he was a very popular rapper in society. And Eminem, too, has songs about killing his wife and drowning her and their children. That eventually will play on your thinking unless you're grounded and have something to help you filter those things out.
I once went to a camp meeting where there was a pastor named Louis Torres, and he used to play guitar, I believe, either guitar or drums, but for a rock band called Bill Haley and the Comets. As he was getting into, he told his testimony at this camp meeting, and as he was getting into this music industry, he knew some of the key players in kind of the advent of rock and roll, some of the big name record producers and stuff. And the term rock and roll, point he brought out, came from, there was a music critic in New York, I believe it was New York City, could have the city wrong, but it was a music critic, and he saw a taxi where a couple of people were doing the dirty deed in the back seat. And the car was, in his words, rocking and rolling. And that's how he came up with the term for this new kind of music. So the point that you made, that people have a base understanding that the beat of rock and roll is ultimately sexual.
Yes. And you know what, Joey? And look and examine some of the lyrics, and you will find a theme behind them. And not only will you find a theme behind them, they're all pushing against God's teachings. And that affects society. That song that I talk about, Secret Lovers, rose to number one. Number one song in adult contemporary music, talking about adultery. What does that say about society? So, Joey, you shared a couple of quotes with me. Let's look them over as we wrap up this video.
This first one is by James Madison here, and it says, "What is government itself but the greatest of all reflections of human nature? If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." And let's go right into the Alexander Hamilton quote. Alexander Hamilton said, "It has been observed by an honorable gentleman that a pure democracy, if it were practicable, would be the most perfect government. Experience has proved that no position in politics is more false than this. The ancient democracies in which the people themselves deliberated never possessed one feature of good government. Their very character was tyranny, their figure deformity." And the reason why these quotes, why this Andrew Klavan video prompted these quotes for me, like made me think of them, it's because what he said about culture, and the point he made is like, nothing happens in culture, right? Some piece of art or whatever that hasn't already happened in the human heart, right? In our society's heart, right? So we can talk about the Kim Petras and Sam Smith video. We can talk about the Beatles or Bill Haley in the comments. Right? We can talk about all these people, but these people, their art had an audience because something was happening in the human heart, right? We were losing, I know in the early part of last century, right? Evolution was being introduced into the classroom, right? And kids, their characters, their lives are being formed in this knowledge of, no, life really started by this long processes, coincidences and chance, and free love was happening, right? And like these other things were happening, right? And so the people's hearts, that's the kind of art that they elevated, right? And so when we talk about, and I believe the title of Klavan's episode that we took this from ultimately was How to Start an American Renaissance. And what he said is he's like, it starts in the hearts of the people. And that's why those founders' quotes stuck out at me because, and there's another one I didn't share, but John Adams said, "Our Constitution was designed for a moral and religious people and was wholly inadequate for the governance of any other," right? And the point that Hamilton made about democracies, why do democracies fail? Is it's the passions of the mob, right? So in other words, when you have a citizenry that isn't grounded in virtue, right, which you can't force people to be virtuous, but you can incentivize virtue. And when you have a population that's run by people who aren't self-governing, right, ultimately you're going to lose your freedom. You're not going to be able to have freedom for long, right? Because licentiousness and anarchy lead to just total disorder. And eventually what happened? A Caesar comes, a Napoleon, some strong man comes. And so it's like, when we talk about preserving liberty, ultimately we can't separate that from a conversation about personal, as a Christian, I would say conversion and come to Christ, but even just in a broader context of a semblance of Christian, and Jewish virtue has to be the majority belief, right? I think of, so the editor of Christianity Today is a Baptist by the name of Russell Moore. I like many of the things he said, but there's something he said, which I partly agree with, where he said, the death of cultural Christianity is a good thing because cultural Christianity wasn't so great. And I agree with him to the point of like, cultural Christianity can become rote. And so I agree with that. But I think when there was a level in society that, there was a Christian expectation, right? So in other words, there was the expectation that children's programming wasn't going to have sexual stuff in it, right? That's a Christian idea. That's a Christian standard. And I do think that was a good thing. So it's, in other words, it's balancing that line. And I think bringing it back to what Klavan was saying is like, in our own personal lives, we've got to make sure that God's law is written on our heart, right? That virtue is written on our heart, because that's ultimately how we can spark a revival, right? A revival certainly doesn't start from the government, but it doesn't even start from your pastor or, some high Christian celebrity. It starts in the individual heart. And when the people's hearts change, that's when the culture will change. As long as their hearts want sex, drugs, and money, right? That's what the rap and the rock and the movies are going to give you, right? You have to cultivate better desires.
From a non-religious standpoint, that only happens if you are sincere about going after truth. Truth has to matter more than anything else. And when desires, hedonistic pleasures take over your rational brain, that's when we get the society we have today. And Klavan was talking about the heart. And it reminds me of the Bible verse. It says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And we see that in the music industry. We see that in the movie industry. All this debauchery, it makes me laugh. Hollywood is against the Second Amendment, which we're not. We're pro-Second Amendment. Yet their blockbuster movies all have to do with violence, talking both sides out of the mouth. They're never going to give up the shoot 'em up, bang 'em up movies, even if it's futuristic like Star Wars and lightsabers and all that. Why? Because they're hypocrites. And so wrapping up here, we got one final quote. I want you to read it, and then we'll make our final thoughts known, and we'll wrap this one up.
It would be far more consistent for nations to abolish their statutes and permit the people to do as they please than for the ruler of the universe to annul his law and leave the world without a standard to condemn the guilty or justify the obedient. Would we know the result of making void the law of God? The experiment has been tried. Terrible were the scenes enacted in France when atheism became the controlling power. It was then demonstrated to the world that to throw out the restraints which God has imposed is to accept the rule of the cruelest of tyrants. When the standard of righteousness is set aside, the way is open for the prince of evil to establish his power in the earth. I think it fits right in. I mean, it's a great way to tie this episode up, right? Because it's like, right, society, right, and obviously the left kind of has cultural dominance right now. It's all about, we got to throw off these standards, right? Christian morality is oppressive, right? If you're gay, it's oppressive that marriage is just between a man and a woman. If you believe that you're a man born in the wrong body and that you're really a woman, right? Like, it's oppressive, the laws of nature that God made to say you are a man, right? You want to pollute your body and mind with hallucinogenic drugs, right? It's oppressive that God says your body is a temple that you don't own, right? These Christian morality points, our society says, oh, these are oppressive. But it's actually what we see is the opposite, right? When we throw off these restraints, right? It's not, we don't get freedom, right? We don't get joy, certainly, but we don't get more liberty. We actually get less, right? We become less controlled, right? So in other words, one example that comes to mind, right, is think of fatherless homes and think of all that that's right. On one thing, you could say, well, we threw out the shackles of Christian sexual morality. And, now men and women are free to do whatever they want. And, it's fine. And there's not socially unacceptable. And yet what's been the result of throwing off that restriction that Christianity or Islam or kind of reasonable atheism would say, like, no, you should be responsible, right? We've thrown that off. And what's been the result? Well, we have more people, particularly young men in prison, right? They're not free. We have more people enslaved to drugs. They're certainly not free, right? I don't think anyone would call heroin addict free, right? So we've got less freedom when we've gotten rid of the restraints.
And you think of single mothers, more single mothers, the crisis here in the United States. People get hooked on these drugs in the name of freedoms, and then it costs them their life, not only individual life, but their family life, their position in society. It becomes a detriment. And that quote spoke about the French Revolution, and I have studied that. Go check it out for yourself. Don't take it for our word. It became a disaster. And that's where the United States is headed unless we get back to the values that are found in the Bible, the values that are taught by our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's where we're headed. If you want to see the future, if you think we're some Notre Dame here, we're not. We're just telling you the truth. History tends to repeat itself. And when you begin to unfetter yourself from traditional values, just study the French Revolution, and that's where we're headed. But I want to leave you on a good note. There is hope. Perhaps maybe not for society, but for you individually. Seek after truth. You may not believe it to be the Christian truth, but seek after truth. Look at the Judeo-Christian principles that founded this country. Seek after that. Test them to see if they're truth. And you will find truth with a capital T, and his name is Jesus Christ. Joey, once again, thanks a lot for another episode. And until next time, buddy.